Yeah,
I got it.
Can you see everyone?
I can. I can see you and I can see Winfred. There's Tim Tingle. I can see everybody. Are y'all ready for me to start?
Well, we'll wait for a couple of more minutes. I think some more people may be joining in, but there are some people who may not be able to stay the whole time and really just want to greet you and say hello.
35.
Well, that would be wonderful. I would love it.
I see people I haven't seen in years, and everybody looks like their grandmother or granddaddy.
Well, we are all getting old.
Yes.
Just like me.
It's
Well,
been a long time.
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and get started. Thanks everybody for coming for this. Traphene is our featured teller for today. And usually we have the featured person go last, but she's going to tell first. And before we start the telling, some people just want to say hello and give some greetings to them. Shelby is one who can't stay long, so we're going to let her say her greetings to you first.
Good. Let's see if I can find Shelby.
Good morning, Traphene.
I don't see you yet.
You
Can you
look
spot
like
Shelby?
Oh, I wish I could find you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
they should spotlight me so that you can see me.
Yeah. Yeah, there you are.
I'll go ahead and listen anyway.
All right, well, you listen, they'll figure it out. This is something that's a learning experience for
Oh,
everyone.
there's Shelby right
They're all
there.
pitching in. I just wanted, I can't stay. I have an appointment I have to be at, and I'm supposed to be leaving about now, but before I leave, I just wanted to tell you how much you mean to the storytelling community and everyone and all the things that you have given us. And I wanted to tell you that I have a deep gratitude for your spirit and for your gumption and your bravery, courage, and your heart, because you are very generous with everything that you've ever given and never left anyone out. And I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Shelby.
And that's all I need to say. I just wanted to make sure that it was said and know that everyone here loves you. And I think they'll speak for themselves.
And I love everybody here. That's I'm looking over Tim Couch. I love all these people. I'm so glad to have a last time to. I'm gonna go to heaven and I'm gonna wait for you. So y'all come on up and we'll tell stories up there.
Yep.
You know, with renal failure, you have no pain, or so far I have that pain, which is wonderful.
Okay.
Okay, let me tell my story.
Okay, are you ready, everybody? She needs no introduction. This is Traphene Hickman.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
This is one of my favorite stories. Once upon a time, there was a girl, a little girl, and she lived out in the country. She didn't have any playmates at all, and she was lonely. One day, her daddy brought her this beautiful golden ball and gave it to her. Oh, she loved her ball. It was so beautiful. She would hold it up and she could look and she could see her face just like a mirror. She could have put it up to a flower and it would make an image of the flower. She loved it. She took it everywhere she went. This day she went walking down this path and decided to go across the bridge. So when she did, she looked down at the water Oh, it was so beautiful, bubbling over the rocks. And she said, oh, look, ball, at the water bubbling over the wall. Oh no, I dropped my ball. Oh no. So she jumped off the bridge and she got a stick and she started trying to get it out. And she couldn't get it out. It was stuck in too tall water. She went over and sat on a rock and started crying. Her heart was broken, her golden ball was gone. And about that time, a frog jumped up and sat by the side of her. He said, what are you crying about, girl? A frog, a talking frog. Yeah, I want to know why you're crying. Well, I dropped my golden ball over there in that creek and I can't reach it. You want me to get it for you? Can you? Would you? Would you do that? Sure, I can do that, he said. But you gotta make me 3 wishes. Anything, she said. So he jumped in and he got the ball, put it in her hand right by her, and he got her. And she took it, she cleaned it off. And it was shiny like it was before. Oh, my ball, I've got you back, I've got you back. And she just forgot the frog and she started off towards home. Wait, you forgot me. She didn't pay attention to him. She just ran right home. When she got home, it was time for dinner. So her family sat down and they were saying the blessing. When the doorbell started ringing, ding, 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 and her mother went to the door. She came back and she said, did you make a promise to a frog? Oh, yes. The dad said, little girl, in this house, a promise is a promise. You go invite that frog in. Well, the frog came in. He said, and you told me I could eat out of your plate. That was my second wish. You can have the whole thing, she said. And she just left him to eat it. And she started running upstairs. Wait, you forgot me again. He went up there and I forgot my story. Well, and she said, there's another wish. What is it? You promised that I could sleep on your pillow. Oh gosh, who wants a frog on their pillow? Here, you can just have the whole thing. And she left the frog on that whole pillow. My brain's not working right. Oh, I know. So then he said, and you promised to kiss me. Kiss you. And you know what your father said? In this house, a promise is a promise. Okay. Mwah. And when she kissed him, he turned into a boy. A boy. A boy her age. She was so thrilled. She had someone to play with. He said, I'm not staying here, Toots. I'm going somewhere where girls remember to keep their promise. The end. I think my brain's not working real good because I've forgotten. That's my favorite story, and I forgot it twice. Who was
Great job.
next?
Great job. Wonderful, wonderful.
Yay,
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah. Now we have to
promise is
keep
a
our promise,
promise.
to Traphene. Kathy Crowley, before you go to sleep, do you want to tell a story?
Great story, great story.
That was a great story, Traphene. Hi, how are you, sweetie?
Hi.
I'm in the
I'm
mountains.
doing great. It's so
I'm
good
in the
to
mountains.
see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. I'm in the mountains in Oman. I'm teaching summer school here to about 50 kids every day. And it's very, very quiet except for the goats. Yeah. And I don't have a story, a traditional story. I just have a good memory. A long time ago, when I came to Dallas, I came to study to be a storyteller. And I didn't have any work and my money was pretty small. So I took a job at a petrol station, and as they call it here, a gas station back home. And it turns out I only lasted 2 days before I made a terrible mistake in the till. The money I was supposed to have collected at the end of the shift wasn't there. And so they fired me. And Traphene was the one that said, well, you shouldn't have that job anyhow. I know a job you could do even better. So she had me go to work as the librarian in the E.M. Gilliam Gilbert Library. And we had a great time. We had a great time running that library. And it was at a storytelling meeting of the Dallas Guild that took place a week or two after I got fired, where this lovely storyteller came into the meeting and said, oh, I remember meeting you at the gas station. Do you still have that job? Are you still there? I said, no, no, no. Now I'm working in the library. She said, oh, she said, I felt so bad. You know, we got to talking and I wrote a check for the amount I owed for the gas and for the groceries. And I realized it was still in my checkbook. I never gave it to you, darling. And that was the night that I learned that that even when horrible things happen and idiots abound in the world, there are wonderful people like Traphene who will come and save your butt. And she
Oh,
did.
I love that.
Love
And
her.
you were a wonderful librarian. You know, I had the privilege of hiring some wonderful people, including Toni.
Thank you very, very much for that. Anybody else? David, do you want to tell your story now?
Sure. Sure, I can.
David doesn't look like it, but believe it or not, he was one of our youth storytellers.
Yep.
And he started with Traphene and I when he was, what, 9, I believe? And now he's all grown up and doing tech.
Maybe even 7.
So, oh, he's
As long as
aging
I can
all of
remember.
us.
So this is the very first story I learned, probably under Traphene. So, and this is the story of the beautiful dream. Porcupine, Coyote, and Skunk. They were good friends and they were walking home. But then, just then, a cart went by and it was full of meat. They all licked their lips. It looked so good. They ran up, but they all got there at the exact same time. And they couldn't figure out who got the meat. That's not fair, called Coyote. He wanted it all for himself, of course. Well, he thought a moment. I have an idea. See that hill over there? Let's all race down that hill, and whoever gets to the bottom first will get the meat. He knew he was the fastest. So they agreed. They didn't much want to mess with the coyote. So they lined up at the top of that hill, and on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, Coyote sprinted down. Skunk waddled down, and Porcupine, he rolled up into a ball and rolled down. Now, who do you think won? Porcupine, that's not fair. Coyote really wanted that meat. That's not fair. I have an idea. Let's put the meat in the top of a tree and we'll all take a nap. Then when we get up, we'll say what we dreamed, and I will decide who had the most beautiful dream, and they will get the meat. Well, that sounded fair enough. They didn't much want to argue with Coyote. So they put the meat up in the tree, and they all laid down, and Coyote went to sleep, and Skunk went to sleep, but Porcupine, he had other ideas. When they got up, Coyote asked, "Hey, Skunk, what did you dream?" "Oh, I dreamed I was in a field of beautiful flowers, and I smelled beautiful." "Okay, that's good. What did you dream, Porcupine?" I dreamed I ate the meat." The meat was gone, and Porcupine was looking a little bit fatter.
Good job, David. I've forgotten that story. That's a funny story. Good job. You really did. You aced that one. Did you tell that in Utah?
Not that one. I told a Brer Rabbit one in Utah.
It's been fun working with you
You've been
and
very
your
good.
mama and your
Yeah.
daddy.
Yeah.
I see that Marianne and Donna have put their names in the hat. So let's see, which one of you wants to go first?
I'll go.
Okay.
Hi, Traphene. It's good to see
Hey.
you this morning, sweetheart. I have a Traphene memory.
Uh-oh.
And Traphene and JR used to bring their RV to the storytelling festival.
Yeah.
They would set it up and it would be the green room for all of the featured tellers at the festival. And you might walk into the RV and David Novak might be taking a nap, or you might walk into the RV and Heather Forrest might be eating an apple, or you might walk into the RV and it was first thing in the morning and Traphene wouldn't even quite be ready to go yet. She might not even be dressed, but David Goodrow would be there with his guitar or his banjo. And it was
Every
a place.
morning he'd come for coffee.
He'd come for coffee before you were even dressed, wouldn't he?
Absolutely.
And that reminded me, Traphene and I were talking about this the other day, and it reminded me of a time when Karen Morgan and Shelly Newper Tucker and Gail Ross and I were driving to Jonesboro to the National Festival. And we had plans to camp out in the state park outside Jonesboro. And we knew that JR and Traphene were going to be there in their RV. And we were going to camp in a campsite close by. And Paul Porter was coming and he was bringing his pup tent and he was going to camp. We were going to, the three women, we were all going to share a tent. Gail was staying in town, but Shelly and Karen and I had a tent set up, and it got cold that night. It was October and it was beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. The trees were turning colors and it was just gorgeous. Well, we went to sleep on the ground that night, all bundled up. Soon as it was daylight, practically, we were stumbling out of the tent and Paul was already up and he was he was getting ready to make coffee, and he said, I'll make some coffee for everybody. But he didn't have everything together and ready yet. And we turned around, and who was walking down the dusty trail in her pretty bathrobe and slippers, carrying a tray with coffee for all four of us, was Traphene with room service, or maybe we should call it tent service. It was, none of us will ever forget that, how sweet and special that was when she delivered coffee to our tent first thing in the morning outside of Jonesboro.
Oh, that was such a wonderful memory.
Oh, it was.
Thank you,
We have-
Mary Ann. I
I love
remember
you
that
very
time
much,
too.
sweet woman.
And while I was walking downtown that day in Jonesboro, there was all of a sudden his name just left me. Our
Brother
founder. What was our founder's name?
Finley.
Finley. Finley was downtown and he sang to me.
He used to sing every time he saw Traphene. He
Yeah,
would start singing. I think he made up the song, but it was the same every time he sang it.
yeah, I can't
Traphene,
think what the
my
song was
Traphene.
either, but it was always the same.
Mhm.
Oh, fun. I love that guy. We all loved him.
Yeah, we did. And he loved you.
Yeah.
Well, Donna, are you ready?
I am right here, and hi, Traphene. It's so good to see you. And
Let me
like Tim,
find you.
I remember
There you
Tim
are.
Couch. Hi. Tim Couch was remembering your telling of the Where Was I story on November 22nd when President Kennedy was assassinated. I remember I had told my story. I don't remember where we were, but it was sort of a story circle. And then you told your story, which was so powerful. So we all remember you and your stories. And like Mary Ann, I remember that wonderful RV green room back when we were all telling stories in the tents. And your story about the frog reminded me of the story that I first heard from Ed Stavender, and you probably heard it too. He told it in Denton. And I thought, that's a good story. It's a story about a chicken in the library, but it has a frog in it. And you all know the story. I think Ed said he heard it from David Novak. So it's just one of those that's been in the oral tradition forever. So I've been telling my version for years, always giving Ed credit, of course. And because there are librarians, many of you in the audience, I have to keep that in mind too. So there was this story about this chicken in the library, walked into the library one day, walked right up to the circulation desk and said, "Walk." So the librarian gave the chicken a book. But because there are librarians in this audience, I have to add that, of course, that book had been withdrawn, because we all know that no self-respecting librarian would ever give a chicken a book if that chicken didn't have a library card. So that chicken took that book, tucked it under one wing, walked out the front door and disappeared. Next day, that same chicken was back, walked up to the circulation desk and said, "Look, look." So the librarian gave the chicken two books, also withdrawn. The chicken tucked one under one wing, one under the other wing, walked out the front door, disappeared. Third day, same chicken was back, same librarian was on duty. Chicken walked up to the circulation desk and said, "Buck, buck, buck." So the librarian gave the chicken three books, also withdrawn. They were withdrawn a lot of books about that time. And that chicken tucked one book under one wing, one book under the other, had to hold the third one under her chin. She's walking back toward that front door. And by this time, that librarian was really, really curious. So she left her post behind the circulation desk after securing adequate, well-trained replacement. walked out the front door, followed that chicken all the way downtown until they got to a small field there. Crossed that field, stopped at the edge of a small pond. The librarian watched that chicken stack those 3 books up very neatly at the edge of that pond, and then she saw this bullfrog, may have been the same one that was in Traphene's story. It had been sunning itself on a lily pad. Saw that frog jump into the water, swim over to the edge of that pond, sit down in front of those 3 books and say, read it, read it, read it.
Oh, I'd forgotten that one too. That's a good one.
Well, Traphene, some of our youth tellers are here and would like to say hello. Can we spot the McGrew crew and Karen Lee?
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Miss Toni. Hi, Miss Traphene.
Hi.
Do any of you want to share a story?
My sisters, they just wanted to say hi. Here they are. Hi, Miss Traphene.
Hi, Miss Traphene.
Hi, Miss Toni. Hi, Miss Toni. But I have today.
I didn't hear you.
I have a story.
Okay.
So today I will be telling the story of the crow in the picture. And like David, I believe this was one of my first stories I've told when I was a part of the Storytellers. So about the crow in the picture. You know, a long, long time ago, animals kind of had lives like you and me. Young animals, they would go to school, you know, play games, that side of thing. And adult animals, they would go to work, you know, they would drive, adult life. In one family, it was a family of crows. The father crow, every day he would go to work. Now, birds, they don't really need to drive a car since they have wings. So every day they would fly to work. He got a new job, and this job was a long commute. He would have to fly, whew, take a break, then fly some more, sit down, you know, do his work. Then after work was done, he'd have to fly, take a break, then fly some more all the way to the house. Now, one day, it was hot. Like, you know how lately we've been having triple digit heat? It was even worse than that. It was scorching out there. And he forgot to bring water. So he was flying. He had to take more breaks than usual. He flew all the way to work. He made it. But then after a long, hard day of work, he had to fly back home. He didn't think he could make it. So he flew. He needed some water. But there was nothing around until he spotted a pitcher. He flew down to that pitcher and looked down. There was water. Oh my God, he was so excited. So he put his beak down into the pitcher. But it didn't fit. He tried again. Oh, why did I have to have such a big beak, he said. So he thought some more. He looked at his surroundings and he saw that there were some pebbles on the side. He was a smart bird, you know, he went to college, had a degree, all of that stuff. So he came up with an idea. He picked one of the pebbles up and dropped it in the pitcher. It worked. The water started to rise. So he took another one, dropped it in, it rose some more. He kept going until it was up to the brim. Then he drank the entire pitcher of water and flew home happily to his family. And that's the story of the crow in the picture.
Oh, I love it. Wonderful hand motions. You did wonderful expressions. You did a great job on that. That had to have been a crow because crows are smart. Now, I had a little bowl out in my yard and I put a marble in it for each member of my family. And so I prayed over those marbles, and dang if I kept losing marbles. Where are those marbles going? And a crow was stealing. I found one son dropped in the yard. The crow was stealing my marbles. So when you tell that, remember that guy was a crow.
Yes, ma'am.
Karen, did
Good
you want to share
job.
something? Is Rebecca here also? Rebecca Garcia?
Yes, me and Allie are both here.
Okay, can you spotlight them so she can see you two?
Okay, are y'all gonna tell? I remember the first time I saw you were Rebecca, and I don't think you were. How old were you? How old were you? You remember?
I think I was 9.
But you were
I
small for
was
your
9.
age, so.
Yeah.
And you wanted to be a storyteller, so I just invited you. Come on in, and you've been a great storyteller. And there you brought your little
Thank
sister. Yeah. Thank you both. You've been a joy to me, a big
You-
joy. You gonna tell the story?
Are you going to tell a story?
Yes, I have a story prepared.
Okay, well then you can go on, and then Karen, you can be next.
Hello, my name is Rebecca Garcia, and today I want to share a story with you called The Baby Rabbit and the Giant Ant. Once there was a small baby rabbit that loved his grandma rabbit. They loved each other very much. And each morning when the baby rabbit woke up, he gave his grandma a big hug and then went off into the woods to play. He played all day, and when his grandma called him for dinner, he came right away because he loved his grandma's food. One day, as usual, he woke up and went out to the woods to play. He was just hopping around, looking for something to do, when he spotted a big clearing. He thought he could play catch or something with a bird. And when he went in, there was a huge, giant, monster ant. And it growled in a low voice, "I'm gonna eat you." He raised his club and smashed the baby ant. He picked it up, sniffed it, and he stank. He hadn't taken a shower for weeks. So he threw him over the shoulder and decided he would find something else to eat. When Grandma Rabbit called Baby Rabbit for dinner, he didn't come. He didn't come for his bedtime story either, or for Grandma to kiss him goodnight and tuck him into bed. He didn't come throughout all the night. Clearing and found the huge giant monster ant. The monster ant said, "I'm gonna eat you," and raised his club, but the grandma rabbit stopped him and said, "Wait, have you seen my baby rabbit? He's small and kind of stinky." The giant ant thought for a bit. "Oh yeah, I saw him the other day. He was just here." "Well, where is he now?" asked the grandma rabbit. "Oh, I think I may have accidentally, sorta, possibly killed him." "What? You killed my baby rabbit? Well, where did you put him?" "I think he's somewhere in that lake over there." The grandma rabbit rushed over to the lake and looked around for the baby rabbit. She finally found him, picked him up by the ears, and slapped his face. "Breathe," she said, "breathe." The baby rabbit breathed. And then he yawned. "Oh, I just had the weirdest dream. Hey, where's the breakfast?" You weren't asleep, you were killed. No, I want you to go kill that giant ant. Well, baby rabbit didn't dare defy his grandma, so he looked around for a big tree to use, and he found the perfect one. He spread some herbs around the trunk and asked, "Oh, Mr. Tree, may I please use you to kill the monster ant?" The tree waved in the wind, and baby rabbit wrapped its arm around the trunk and lifted it. Then he went looking for the giant ant. He found him, and he raised up the giant tree and smacked the ant, and then it exploded into billions and millions of tiny ants. Later, when he finally got home, he had a good dinner with his grandma. It was carrot soup, his favorite. Later on in life, his grandma rabbit passed away, and even though she may not be there to protect him from any more giant ants, she's always looking down on him and making sure he's okay. The end.
You have expanded that story perfectly. I love it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's one of the stories that you taught them, Traphene.
It is.
Yes.
And she's done a good job with it. She's expanded it.
Yes. Well, Karen, are you ready?
Yes, I am. Hi, Miss Traphene.
Hi, darling.
I remember when I first came to storytelling back in the 3rd grade, and since then we wanted to say thank you for always being, so supportive of us and making storytelling so much fun. And I wanted to tell this story, The 3 Wishes, because this was one of the first stories I really felt really comfortable with, and I used to tell it a lot. So, hi, my name is Karen Lee, and I'm going to be telling you the story of The 3 Wishes. Once upon a time, there was a woodcutter, and every single day he would walk through the woods and chop down trees. But one day, he happened to come up to an especially big tree. So he raised his axe up high and he swung it down. But right before he got to the tree stump, he heard a voice, and the voice was coming from up above. It said, "Please don't hurt this tree. This is my only home." Well, the woodcutter thought he was hearing things. He said, "Well, maybe I better not cut this tree. Maybe I should just go home." So he decided to skip that tree for whatever was in there, and he moved on to the next. Before he could get to another tree, he heard the voice again. The voice said, "Thank you for your kindness, sir. And just because you saved my home, I'll give you 3 wishes." 3 wishes, thought the woodcutter. Now I'm hearing magic things. Well, now it was really time for him to move on. So he went on with his day and didn't think too much of it. And pretty soon it was time for him to go home. When he arrived home and he sat back down on the dinner table, his wife came over and laid out a bowl of cabbage soup. Now, when the woodcutter saw this cabbage soup, he was angry, as I imagine most would be. But he saw that cabbage soup, and he said, "Come on, I've been working hard all day, and all I have is this bowl with lettuce and water and leaves, and come on, I really, really wish I had a big, juicy sausage instead." And poof, away was the water and the leaves, and in came a big piece of meat. And the woodcutter was amazed. And he thought about it, and he said, "Wait, how did this get here?" Then he thought back to what he heard in the tree. And he looked back and he told his wife, "I think I actually got 3 wishes." And he told her what happened and how he didn't cut down the tree and the gifts that he was giving. Well, at first they were all so excited. But then the wife started to think, and she said, "You had 3 wishes and you wasted 1 on a sausage?" Well, the woodcutter thought too, and he said, Well, I didn't know. I didn't know. Well, if you hadn't put this cabbage soup out, I wouldn't have had to wish. And they started to argue back and forth and back and forth. And the wife was so angry about the sausage, and the husband was so angry about the soup. And so he couldn't take it anymore. And so he said some of the meanest words you've ever heard. I wish the cabbage was on your nose. I wish the sausage was on your nose. And poof, there it was, on the wife's nose. And she felt it for a bit. She just couldn't believe what he had done. She looked at it. She said, sausage, you put this on my nose? And then she started to try everything to pull it off. She pulled and she pulled and she hit it and she hit it on the wall and she ran around and she grabbed her fork and her knife and she tried to eat it off. The husband tried to eat it off. He was still hungry. And they tried everything, but it just wouldn't come off. And the wife started to get upset. She had a breakdown. She said, how am I supposed to go to the store like this? I can't get a job like this. What will people say with a sausage on my nose? But she went in her corner and she cried and she cried and she cried. Well, the woodcutter started to feel pretty bad about it. I didn't mean to put a sausage on her nose. I didn't think it would be that bad. But he started to think, and he thought, well, I only have one wish left, but I guess I'll have to spend it on her. So he came up to her and he said, I'll take the sausage off for you. I wish the sausage was off your nose. Poof, there it was. The sausage was gone. So the wife started to feel her face and it was so nice. No sausage anywhere in sight. She could fit through the door. She could wash her face. It was so nice. Well, after all that rejoicing, she started to think. She said, we had 3 wishes. We could have had anything. Big house, cars, food, money, and you spent it all on a sausage. Boy, was she angry. She said, out of everything we could have had, you wish it all on a sausage. See, this is why I gave you the cabbage soup. And it just went on and on and on. And can I say they lived happily ever after? Maybe not, but at least they had the 3 wishes to begin with.
Oh, good job. Good job.
Okay, I think Winfred wanted to say something to you. Are you still there, Winfred? He had a story. Are you there, Winfred? Maybe he had, Aranda, is he still on?
I thought that he was still on.
He's coming.
Oh,
okay. Before he comes, Toni, can I say something really quick?
Yes.
Miss Traphene, I just want to share, it's not a story, but it's just a memory of when I first met you about 11 years ago. And the same feeling that I had then is the same feeling I have today. You and your husband, JR, are such amazing individuals, human beings. When I see you and him together, it just reminds me of what love really is.
Come over here.
Oh, is JR there?
He's here. Little cute thing.
So I always tease Miss Traphene that I'm going to steal JR.
Hi.
Hi, JR. Because I just love you all together. And every time that I'm in your presence in your home, when you come to the library, I just feel that you all are love and joy, walking and talking. And I really appreciate that. But I love the love that you all have for one another as well. It is inspirational. And I just wanted to say, I love you, love you, love you. And it has been a blessing to get to not only know you, but stand on your vision for the new library that we just broke ground on last weekend. And we are committed and dedicated to taking this dream and keeping it moving forward. Love you.
Thank you. We've been married 72 years.
Wow, lifetime.
Yeah.
So you can't have him, Miranda.
I know. I just said maybe Miss Traphene, we can have him cloned, right?
Okay, Winfred, you had a memory.
Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah. Traphene and Melissa hired me back in 2009, and they've welcomed me to the family ever since then. But the interesting thing was this one random weekend, after I had Quinn for a while. I think she was maybe about 2 or 3. Well, it's old enough to walk. And so for some reason, I think I was helping Traphene with something over at the house. And so she gave me her address, told me to head over there and whatnot. And so I told her, I said, I have Quinn with me. She said, it's okay. He said, go and bring her over. And so I brought her over. And, it's kind of funny. It kind of reminded me of how their grandparents were acting. It's like, oh, they were fascinated and, interacting with her and all that stuff, asking her questions and all of that. And, she was kind of at that age where she would kind of shake her head a little bit instead of communicate. So she really didn't want to do anything. She'd shake her head really hard. And, the interesting thing is she still does that to this day. And but Mr. JR was interacting with her and jacking with her and stuff. It was kind of funny, but they've always allowed a lot of hospitality when they're around, and that whole, kind of like the way Cedar Hill is. How when you enter a building they offer you water and all that kind of stuff. So just wanted to know that I'm very appreciative for the opportunity that I've had, and that she's her and her husband is a wonderful person.
Thank you, Winfred. That's the best decision that Melissa and I did, was hire you. You made such a difference in that library. And then you and Toni together were quite a team. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I think is Tim Tingle in the chat. I'm trying to keep up with people who put things in the chat that wanted to share. Are you willing to tell a story, Tim? Or was it Donna?
I can tell a story if I can remember the story, but as Traphene has reminded me, sometimes, even though I haven't been married 72 years, I'm forgetful. You don't look old enough to have been married 72 years.
I was 17. And
I was going to say,
I got the pick of the litter.
the pick of the litter. So you got the kitty cat.
I did not.
I was going to say you had to have been a teenager when you got married, if you've been married 72 years.
I was a week. I graduated one week and got married the next week.
It's a good thing it wasn't reversed, because if that had happened, you might never have graduated.
I know it, but I did graduate. And then later, I went on to college. So,
what college did you go to?
Well, I went all the way from Mountain View to UTA to North Texas, and I got my master's.
At Denton. When did you get your master's degree?
12 years to get master's in library science.
Okay.
When I finished my bachelor's, I didn't know whether I wanted to be a public administrator or a librarian. And I was going for public administrator. And then I realized that they move all the time. And I would not be able to move, so I went to the library. That's why I picked the library.
Because librarians have one desk they sit at and they can stay there as long as they want to, as long as they take care of the books that come in and out, right?
Absolutely.
Well, I have one little brief story, and it's a story that everybody here that's ever heard me tell has heard me tell this one almost every time I tell.
Oh,
But it's
good.
that I think I can remember. And if I forget anything, then you can help.
I forgot something in my story.
Oh,
And I had to stop and think, and then I went on. So
okay.
let's see what you can do, Doc.
This is Doc right there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm Tim.
I know that. I know that.
You're just doing that to make me feel better, aren't you?
Well, I was
Okay.
looking at that book, and it said down at your name. You know,
Long
we all
ago-
look so different.
Yeah.
We have aged since we've met each other.
Long ago in the land of the Choctaws, there was Frog. And Frog had two. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me start over. Long ago in the land of the Choctaw, there was Rabbit. I was almost going to put a frog with two ears and a long bushy tail. I'm glad I didn't do that one. There was Rabbit. Oh, I almost forgot to tell you. When I say there was Rabbit, everybody has to make two ears like Rabbit.
okay.
Everybody. Okay, wait till I say so. Here we go.
Okay.
Long ago in the land of the Choctaws, there was Rabbit. Yeah, that's it, Janet Bigglebert and I. Yeah, there was Rabbit. Now you can put them down. And Rabbit had one problem. Rabbit just wouldn't stop talking. See how good it is for me to tell this story? He just wouldn't stop. He would go on and on and on and on. And he drove away almost all of his friends. They just couldn't stand him because every time they were around him, I could just say it with me. Here, you can do the hand gestures too. Wouldn't stop talking. And for those student tellers that are here, if you pay close attention, you can remember this story and you have permission to tell it. Just let people know it's a Choctaw story because you have full permission to tell it. So long ago in the land of Choctaw, there was Rabbit and he just wouldn't stop talking. He driven away all. And there was also Fox. And there was Mrs. Fox and 3 fox babies. And every morning Fox would go down to the river to fish. He would fling his fishing line out because he'd got a rod and reel for Christmas, Fox Christmas, you know. He would sling his fishing, plop, and reel it back in. Shoo, 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 plop, catch a fish, shoo, 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 shoo. And every morning he would catch 5 catfish and carry those catfish back to the house. And his wife would cook enough food, catfish, to last the day. But if he ever only brought 4 catfish, guess who didn't get to eat that day?
Oh.
Fox, because he was responsible for bringing the food.
Yeah.
And so one day, shoo, plop, and he reeled it back in, shoo, plop, reel it. But it was wintertime and it was frozen and he couldn't get that final fish. He had 4. And then finally he looked around and he thought, oh, well, and he got a rock and he chunked it out there. Is anybody here from Connecticut? Is anybody here from Connecticut?
I don't think anybody's from Connecticut.
Okay, that's good because people from Connecticut don't know what chunk means. They don't have the verb to chunk in Connecticut language. So anyway, they don't. He chunked it out there and it cracked the ice and he flung that fish, shoo, plop, and he reeled number 5 back in. Oh man, he was bootin' ha, ha. He was making his way back. He was going to have a winter meal of catfish for the family. But there was Rabbit. And Rabbit hopped in front of him and he said, "Hey, you've got 4 fish. I just want one little fish. Can you please give me fish? I haven't had anything to eat." Rabbit just went on and on. You know, Rabbit, he just wouldn't stop talking. He just kept talking and talking. And finally, Fox said, "You better get out of my way." And Rabbit said, "Oh, please, you can just look." And Fox said, "I'll tell you what, you need to remember something. Before I got this rod and reel fishing pole for Christmas, do you remember what I used to catch and eat for darn near just about every meal?" And Rabbit said, "Yeah, you used to catch rabbit." Excuse me, Fox, maybe I better be moving. And Fox, "Wait a second, Rabbit, I'll tell you what. If you want to catch some food, you can't have any of my fish. But what you do is you go down to the river there with the frozen part of it. And let me just make sure, Rabbit, you're not from Connecticut, are you?" Rabbit said, "No, I'm not from Connecticut." He said, "Good, then. You take a rock and you chunk that rock and it'll bust a hole in the ice. And then you go out there." Oh, I almost forgot to tell you. This was back so far long ago that Rabbit had a long, beautiful, bushy tail. And Fox said, "What you do is you stick that tail of yours down there in the ice water." And Rabbit said, "Won't that be cold?" He said, "Yeah, it'll be a little bit cold. But with your tail waving back and forth, the fish will come bite a hold of your tail and you just flip them up on the shore. You catch all the fish you want." And Rabbit said, "Okay." And Fox said, "Okay, bye-bye, see you." And he took off running. And Fox went hippity hop, and he got to the edge of the river where it was still frozen solid by now because the sun was going down. He picked up a rock and he
Chunked.
no, out of respect for people from Connecticut,
Oh, okay.
he threw the rock. Okay, you're right. He chunked it out there and it busted a hole in the ice. And Rabbit said, "Oh my goodness." And he stepped on the ice. He went, "Whoa!" Because, you know, Rabbit said, "Oh no, I can't walk on that ice. I've got bare feet." And then he thought, "Wait a second. I'm a rabbit. I don't have bare feet. I've got rabbit feet. I'm not a bear." So he stepped up. Whoa! He said, "Oh, I got bare rabbit feet." And finally, he heard a growling. He knew what that was. It was the thing that must be fed. It was his tummy growling. He said, okay, all right. And he made his way out to where the big hole was. And then he started to sit down and he realized, "Oh no, I've got to stick my tail down in the ice water. I've got to stick my and then I'm going to have to sit on my bare bottom." He said, "Wait a second. I don't have a bare bottom. I've got a rabbit bottom. No problem." So he stuck the tail down in the ice water. And he thought, when he sat down, he go, "Oh, I've got a bare rabbit bottom. It's cold." And he started shaking his tail back and forth. And there weren't any fish biting. And then he felt something grab a hold of his tail and he thought, "I got me a fish." And he went flipping his tail. But there weren't any fish flopping on the shore. And he thought, "I caught a big fish. I better flip harder." And he flipped harder. But there still weren't any fish. And Rabbit said, "I caught the biggest fish in the riververse. I'll count 1, 2, 3 and jump up and I'll bust a fish through the ice and I'll never have to work again." So everybody count 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to count it in Choctaw. But when I do this, everybody holler 1, 2, 3. Okay. And then say jump. All right, here we go. A chafa.
1, 2,
Tukchina. And he jumped up and he landed on the shore and he said, "I got my fish. I never have to work. Where's my fish?" Then he felt a cold breeze back where he'd never felt a breeze before. And he thought, "Whoa, that's funny. My tail always where is my tail?" And he looked out to the river where he had chunked the rock and it had froze over, and back underneath the water, the frozen river, he could see his tail waving back and forth. And that's why all the rabbits you see today, have that tiny little rabbit tail. They don't have that long, beautiful tail. And for those students that are listening, that's what happens when you won't stop talking. Thank you. Thank you. And I'm honored to be here and so honored to be. You have been such an influence on people that will stretch into the thousands and even more with your teaching and your wonderful life. Thank you, Traphene. I mean that. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you to all of my dear, dear friends. Storytelling is so important. I hope you just keep telling everywhere, anybody that will listen to you and teach them to tell. My little storytellers are going to pick up your story too. I didn't get to read that comment that came out.
Well, she wants us to all turn our cameras on. Chester's going to take a screenshot. So
Okay.
everybody who's still here, that smile, should we wave or?
Yeah.
I'll see y'all later.
Well, we're not done. Don't leave. We've got more
okay.
stories.
Okay.
Yes.
I didn't know how much time we had.
Oh, well, we're using Janet's university account, so we can stay here all afternoon. No, but
good.
But I think there were a couple of people who did indicate, Peggy and Michael was Sue, and anybody that I don't have your names down that you wanted to share a story. And she had requested a story from me, one of her favorites too. So let me know any of those people I just called out.
I got a quick one. I'll go first.
Michael, anybody else who will be after Michael?
There'll be
I'll go after Michael then. And Sue, you have your hand up? Okay.
So I know a lot of you guys now, but there was a time when I didn't know most of you guys, and I was just in awe. And I joined the North 40 Storytelling Group, and I also joined the Dallas Storytelling Group. The Dallas Storytelling Group, they talked me into eventually being president, and I'm currently the president. And when I got to be president, one of the first things I did, I tried to call all kinds of people that used to be members of our group, our guild, and tried to get them all to come back to our next meeting so we'd get better participation. And I remember then I called Traphene. I didn't know who Traphene was. And I went through the whole story about how great the Dallas Storytelling Guild was, all the great things that we do. I told her that we had some of the greatest storytellers in town. I told her about Peggy. I told her about Jean. I told her about Tim. I mentioned all kinds of people. And I must have rattled on for a good 10 minutes, maybe even more. And I was sure I had her convinced that she should come and hang out with our group. And she was so polite that she listened to every word. And then she told me, oh yeah, Michael, I was the president of the Dallas Storytelling Guild. And I know all these people. And then she proceeded to give me a great history lesson about all the guilds and all the guilds in Texas and all about storytelling. And I really appreciated that. One, you listened to me and let me stick my foot all the way down to my knee in my mouth. And at the same time, you let me praise all the storytellers in our guild that I really admire. And then I find out that you came before them. So it was so thank you, Traphene. I really appreciate those people that got here before me and blazed the trail. So by the time I came around to do storytelling, such a group like this exists, and this kind of camaraderie and this kind of community. You know, it's one of the greatest little groups of folks that I done ran across, and that includes the ones that aren't in my guild, the Donnas, the Jays, Freds, and the DCs, all the folks that I meet at the festivals, etc. And you kind of epitomize the whole group to me. So thanks, you represent the folks well.
Thank you, Michael. I have a file in my desk probably of 20 years of attendance. I used to take attendance so that I could call those that were not there. And I was president for 20 years or something.
Yeah, and I thought you didn't know anything.
I didn't. Oh, thank you. But I hope you'll all keep it going.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Okay, well, I'll tell my story now, and I'll try not to be long because I just have so many things to be thankful to Traphene about. You've heard her tell all of her stories, but maybe you haven't heard her tell her Polar Express story and the Cedar Hill story, the scary one about the man on the track. What's it called, Traphene?
Oh, the headless brakeman.
The headless brakeman.
We have
yes.
a ghost in Cedar Hill. We have two ghosts, actually. We have the headless brakeman, and then we have
the ghost man.
We have a ghost in the library that I really have not told about, that I should tell about sometime.
Yes. Well, Traphene did, I knew Traphene, I guess, met her when I first came to Dallas and joined the Guild, this infamous Dallas Storytelling Guild. And I know some of you are in other storytelling guilds, but you know, the Dallas Guild is the best. But anyway, we would meet at different homes at different times, and Traphene and JR always open their home. They are just like the best hostess couple, I guess, in the state. So we'd have gatherings there. But then one year I was at the Texas Library Convention, and I had a booth like most of us storytellers do when Traphene came by, and I said, "What are you doing here?" Because I knew she had retired, but you know, she's like those other football players, and also Michael Jordan. She retires, then she comes back, retires and comes back. So she said that she was working again at the Cedar Hill Library, the Zula B. Public Library, we can't even talk, Zula B. Wiley Public Library. And she was there in the Career Center interviewing for a children's librarian. I said, "Oh, I'd love to do that." Well, then first Lori swears that she was the one who discovered that I would be interested. And Lori went and told Traphene to pack up. We can go home now. You know, Toni says she's interested. Well, long story short, I was eventually offered the job, and it was the best job, best library job and job period that I've ever had. So thanks to you. Winfred knows that when she would come into the library, she just brought this energy. She would open the door and say, "Hello, everyone, good morning." And that wasn't typical at any job, more or less in the library. But together we organized the youth tellers group that is still going on. And I'm just indebted to you for that wonderful opportunity, which, you know, not only evolved from the children's part, but ended up being the library director, following in her footsteps again. But she's requested that I tell the dry fry story. She says this is her favorite. So bear with me. You know Dry Fry, right? Everybody knows him. He's a country preacher, the kind that travels from town to town preaching at revivals. Well, you know why they call him Dry Fry. Well, they call him dry because his sermons are so dry, even he falls asleep. And why do you think they call him Fry? Because he loves fried chicken. In fact, you don't have to pay him. You just give him as much fried chicken as he can eat. Well, one Sunday, Dry Fry was preaching at a revival over in East Texas, down there by Lake Tyler. Oh, they had picnic baskets all full of good food, and especially fried chicken. They were going to have a big meal after services. Well, Dry Fry got to preaching. He got the sniffing that fried chicken in those baskets, and he started to feel the spirit. Ooh, and he started to just talk so fast, his false teeth fell out down in a mud hole. Well, nobody wanted to put their hands in that mud hole, but they wanted to help him. Well, little Susie Mae was smart. She ran over to one of those baskets and opened it up and got a drumstick out. And then she untied the ribbon from her ponytail, tied it around the end of that drumstick, and then she just dangled it over that mud hole. And sure enough, those false teeth came up and grabbed hold of that chicken. That's just how much Dry Fry loved fried chicken. Now, after services were over, he went home with Brother Johnson for dinner. And you know what he served? Fried chicken.
Fried chicken.
Well, Brother Johnson's chicken must have been extra finger licking good, because Dry Fry wasn't even chewing him. He was just swallowing that chicken as fast as he could. But he got choked. He got choked on the chicken bone. And Brother Johnson came over to help him because he fell off the chair, dead as a doornail, there on the ground. Brother Johnson didn't know what to do. All he could do was say, "Oh, me." You try it.
Oh, me.
Oh, my.
Oh, my.
Dry Fry just died. Oh, he was so upset. Nobody's gonna believe me. They gonna think I killed him. I'm gonna be hung for murder. Well, he looked at Dry Fry. He looked at his family. He said, I'm gonna have to ditch this dude. So he picked Dry Fry up off the floor, made sure his teeth were in good, because they had fallen out when he hit the ground. They waited till it was really dark. They took Dry Fry down the road and propped him up alongside the road by some bushes and left him. Sure enough, about midnight, two teenagers were out for a romantic stroll. It was Frankie and Johnny. You know them, Frankie and Johnny. They were sweethearts. Well, that's another story. Anyway, they saw Dry Fry up ahead. They thought it was a robber waiting to mug them. So they picked up some rocks and they threw those rocks towards Dry Fry. One hit him upside the head. He fell over in the ground. His teeth fell out again. They ran up. "We got the thief. We got the thief." And when they saw who it was, all they could say was, "Oh, me.
Oh, me.
Oh, my.
Oh, my.
Oh, it's old Dry Fry." Well, they didn't know what to do. Oh, nobody's gonna believe us. They gonna think we killed him. We gonna be hung for murder. Well, they looked at each other. They looked at Dry Fry and they said, we gonna have to ditch this dude. So they picked him up and took him around the back of Farmer Brown's house and propped him up in front of his barn and left him. Now, Farmer Brown had been bothered with thieves. Yeah, so he didn't sleep well at night. He'd get up every now and then and look out to make sure nothing was going on. Well, he looked out about 2 o'clock in the morning. He saw something by his barn. He thought it was a thief. So he got his shotgun and he yelled, "You better get away or I'll shoot." But Dry Fry couldn't move. So he shot. Oh, one of those bullets hit Dry Fry. Oh, and he fell over in the ground. His false teeth fell out. Oh, Farmer Brown ran. "I've got the thief. I've got the thief." But when he saw who it was, all he could say was, "Oh, me.
Oh, me.
Oh, my.
Oh, my.
It's old Dry Fry." Oh, he said, nobody's gonna believe me. They gonna think I killed him. I'm gonna be hung for murder. He looked at his farm. He looked at Dry Fry and he said, I'm gonna have to ditch this dude. So he picked Dry Fry up, got a big old croaker sack. And for those of you who live in Connecticut, that's a big burlap bag. So he stuffed Dry Fry down in that croaker sack and he made sure his false teeth were in really good. He slung him over his shoulder and he started into town. Now, sun hadn't come up yet, still early in the morning. Well, Farmer Brown was walking into town and there were 2 robbers walking out of town with croaker sacks on their shoulders. but they had their sacks full of meat. They had just robbed a butcher shop. They spotted, Farmer Brown. They thought it was the sheriff, so they dropped their sacks and hid in the woods. Farmer Brown got to that spot. He saw those sacks. He put Dry Fry down. He opened one. He saw all that meat. He left Dry Fry, took one of those sacks on home. A little while later, those robbers looked out. They didn't see anybody. Figured it must not have been the sheriff. Their sacks were still there. So they took their sacks on home, put them in their smokehouse, and went inside to get washed up. They woke their wives up and told them to get ready for breakfast. So one of them went in the kitchen and got things started. The other went to the smokehouse, get some bacon, some ham, sausage. When she opened one of those sacks, she screamed, "Ah!" And they came running to see what was wrong. And when they saw who was in the sack, they said, "Oh, me.
Oh, me.
Oh, my.
Oh, my.
It's old Dry Fry. What we gonna do? We're in so much trouble with the law already. Nobody's gonna believe us. We're gonna be hung for murder." Well, they looked at each other. They looked at Dry Fry, and they said, "We gonna have to ditch this dude." So they pulled Dry Fry out of that croaker sack, made sure his teeth were in good. They put a hat on top of his head, got an old horse, and they put a saddle on that horse, and they put Dry Fry up in that horse, in that saddle, on top of that horse, tied his hands to those reins, led that horse outside. One of them gave that horse a big whack. The other started shooting up in the air. Psh, psh, and they were yelling, "Horse thief, horse thief." But that horse took off running, and people came out of their houses with their shotguns, and they were firing too at that horse, trying to catch that horse thief. But when the horse would get close to him and they could see who the rider was, they'd say, "Oh, me.
Oh, me.
Oh, my.
Oh, my.
Looks like old Dry Fry." Well, that horse is still riding to this day. People said they've seen it all over Texas, from Dallas to San Antonio to Austin to even Houston. But now if that horse comes near you, you'll recognize the rider because everybody knows old Dry Fry.
That's my favorite story. I love this that you tell.
Thank you. Well, I think Sue Coombs has a story to share, and then Vivian.
Yes, thank you so much. Traphene, hi. Just want you to know the world loves you. You know that. And JR. And when I was invited to come tell at the Zula V. Wiley Library, of course, you and JR were the hostesses with the mostesses. And I had so much fun because I'd never been to Cedar Hill, and I got to teach those sweet, sweet kids a little bit of what my workshops were about. And then I did the concert that night. And everybody knows you. I remember y'all pulled over on the side of the road because there's a wonderful woman who was gardening. And of course she knows you. And she gave you this bouquet of beautiful flowers right from that garden. And of course, then I got to see that beautiful musical outdoor instruments that are now part of your library. And of course, everyone played for you. That was just amazing. It was so much fun. And of course, you brought me to one of your many restaurants that you love. And everybody, I mean, I don't even think you ate because people stopped by and talked to y'all. So it was so much fun. I'm sure if you went to Europe, they would still know both of you. So
Surely.
It says so much. And of course, I got to meet and hear all your stories of all the brothers and sisters that lived in Cedar Hill too. I do have a very short story. It just reminds me of your fairy garden that you had in your back area. And I woke up early and walked out there, and it was quite magical. I love the little pieces you had, and I'm sure you could put all kids, including us old folks, into our own imagination and come up with their own stories. And there is a story that I just love called The Hare and the Moon. And so let me just share that right now. You know, in that magical, quiet hour just before dawn, if you walk out into Traphene's backyard or into the fields or into your backyard, you'll notice that there's wet grasses. There's water on the flowers. There's quietness. And that's exactly what Hare did. When Hare had hopped out onto the fields so long ago, he too noticed that there was water everywhere. And he made sure his ears were up and he listened, for there was a sound coming from Moon. Up there, Moon was crying. It was a quiet cry, but the tears that came down dripped all over Hare. Those drips just came down both ears. And so Hare looked up and said, Moon, why are you crying? And Moon, he looked down at Hare and said, I am crying because I am not man. Hare had to think about that. Why do you want to be man? You're Moon. And Moon said, I want to be man because man does not leave. He stays always. Hare had to think about that. That is not so, Moon. That is not so. Come down here. Here, come on down these steps. Let me show you. And so Moon did come on down the steps, and Hare walked him over to the hut that was close by. And Hare said, look, there is a man. He is leaving this earth and moving on. It's true. That happens. It happens to all of us. No, you don't understand, said Moon. And Moon took Hare over to another hut. And Moon said, Hare, peer in by the light of the moon. And Hare did. And Hare saw a young man and a young woman, and between them, there were two kids just playing around with them and kissing their mommy and kissing their daddy. And Moon said, do you see? Do you see that as long as man is here, there will always be more? I am but one moon. I have no one else. And then Moon walked up very quietly, back up into the sky. But Hare said, remember, Moon, we dance by the light of your moon, and we have stories that we only tell under the moon, and we have stories of you. We love you, Moon. And Moon shone brighter at that very moment. And to this day, when you walk out and you feel the dew in that morning, peaceful hour right before dawn, think of Moon and then dance by the light of the moon. Thank you. We love you, Traphene.
Love it. Love it. Thank you, Sue. That's
welcome.
beautiful.
We love you.
Vivian, you want to go next?
Yes, thank you. Traphene, I wanted to honor you and Toni as a powerful team. You all were mentors together, and such a beautiful, beautiful relationship that you had. And it's going to transfer to these children for generations. It's just a beautiful, beautiful relationship. And one of my young storytellers many years ago picked Toni's story to tell. And he did an awesome job. And I want to share that story if it's okay with you, Toni.
Oh, sure. I'm honored.
Her story, The Cheese Chase. And he told it so well. But you all know that many years ago, dogs and cats were best friends, or maybe you didn't know. Actually, dog and cat did everything together. They were best buds. They went to school together. They played sports together. They even hung out at each one's house. And one of their favorite things to do was to snack together. And their favorite snack was cheese. This particular day, they were walking down the road and Dog had a brilliant idea. He thought, well, hey, why don't we get a piece of cheese? We can snack on it when we get to our house. And I've got 50 cents in my pocket. Cat, how much do you have? And Cat dug in his pocket. He says, I got 50 cents too. Well, we can put our money together, Dog said. And Cat said, that sounds good to me. And they went down to the cheese shop and they looked at all the cheeses. They put their little noses against the glass. They could smell the cheese. There was cheddar and Swiss and they decided Swiss would be the best one. The Dog said, as they went out the door, let me carry it part of the way and you can carry it part of the way and we'll just have a good time as we head to the house. The Dog said, here we go. Cheese, cheese. I'm carrying our cheese, cheese, cheese. I'm carrying our cheese. And he said, okay, Cat, it's your turn. You go ahead and carry it. Cat said, okay. My cheese, I'm carrying my cheese. Hey, my cheese, I'm carrying my cheese. Dog said, whoa, 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 whoa. It's our cheese. You probably forgot about it. Let me carry it again. Cheese, cheese, I'm carrying our cheese. Cheese, cheese, I'm carrying our cheese. Okay, you can carry it some more. Okay. And Cat said, my cheese, I'm carrying my cheese. My cheese, ooh, I'm carrying my cheese. Ooh. Cat took off running with the cheese in his hands up the tree. And Dog was bouncing him going, Cat, what are you doing? Get down here with our cheese. Oh, our cheese. Oh, he gulped the cheese down with one big gulp. And oh, Dog was so upset. He said, Cat, what have you done? That was our cheese to share. And Cat says, don't be such a ninny. It was a little piece of cheese. It was no big deal. No big deal? You don't, you know what? To you, that was just a little piece of cheese. You, what to me? Yeah, I may have lost a little piece of cheese, but you, Cat, you lost a friend. And from that day on, that is why dogs chase cats.
Don't blame him.
Loved it. Loved it.
Thank you, Miss Toni.
Well, I think we have a couple people to wrap us up. Peggy and then DC.
Which one of us do you want to go first?
Would you?
Thank you, Kim.
Traphene, first of all, Elizabeth Ellis said to send her love. She is up in the mountains in North Carolina and could not access this. So she asked me to tell you hello. And I just want to share a memory because you and I have a lot of memories together.
Oh, yes.
But probably one of my most cherished memories of the Texas Storytelling Festival involves you. Just a few years ago, I had the most amazing honor of being able to announce that you were the winner or the recipient of, of the John Henry Falk Award. And I remember how so many people were going, oh my gosh, you should have gotten it years before because you've been such a fabulous influence on so many tellers.
And knowing that I was the one that got to be able to announce that and give it to you is.
And I couldn't say a word.
Yeah,
if you remember, I just stuttered.
Speechless.
I was so shocked, such an honor. And you and Jane both have been such dear, dear friends for so many years.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, cherish all those fabulous memories, all those wonderful parties, all the stories, all the coffee.
You came over to our house for parties.
Oh yeah, those were the never turned down opportunities.
Our 50th wedding anniversary, you were there.
Yep.
And Elizabeth.
Yep.
Thank you, Peggy. You've been a good friend, and so has Jean. Y'all have worked so hard. I don't know who's going to take your place when y'all are gone. Well, you're not going anywhere soon, but I am.
Well, before you leave us, let's have DC share some things.
Yes.
Are you on, DC? I don't know if you have heard her talking about you yesterday. She just loves you to death. And
if
she
I had the money, I would hire you to tell to every school child in our district. That's what your stories mean to me.
Unmute yourself, DC. Yeah.
Hey. How you doing, beautiful?
I'm doing great.
All right. One of my favorite stories about Traphene is kind of a personal story. When I first got to the Texas Storytelling Festival, I was lost. I didn't know what to do or where to go. And man, it was one of them hot Texas summers. I mean, it was smoking. And so I ended up in the RV. I thought I was having a heat stroke. And Miss Traphene came and she gave me some water and she started talking to me. She said, "How many times you come up here?" I said, "This is my first time." And she was a guiding factor in making me feel comfortable and accepted. And it's kind of funny, we came full circle because I was sitting in the audience and JR had asked me, said, "DC, wait a minute. After this is over, I need to talk to you." I said, "Okay." So I sat down and I'm sitting there and then Miss Traphene gets up. She walks to the microphone, she starts reading these things off about the person that's gonna get the John Henry Falk Award. And I'm sitting there and I'm listening and she called my name. And when she called my name, I sat there and it was like, I can't remember who it was, but somebody said, "DC, that's you. Get up, fool." I walked up and she gave me a big hug. But the only person that saw the tears coming from my eyes was Traphene. And it was because I shared one of the greatest moments of my life with you, Miss Traphene. And I'm gonna share this story with you real quick and I'm gonna get out y'all's business.
Okay.
There was a long time ago, we didn't have street lights, you had oil lamps. And somebody from each small town would have to go along and light those lamps. It was a village with a lot of hills in it. And a guy was thinking about it and he was going along and he would light the lamps. And he would light the lamps and you would see him going down the road lighting the lamps. And he came to a hill and he lit the lamp and then he kept walking and he walked over the hill and he disappeared. You couldn't see him no more. But you know what you could see? You could see the light and the path he left behind him. The lights that he left and the path he left behind him. The lights would make people feel safe and secure. and know that the path was well lit. Miss Traphene, you are that lamplighter for many of us. Those of us that will follow your path will bask in the light and the glow of your love.
Oh,
Peace be
thank
with
you,
you, Miss
DC. Thank you. I have such a love for people. And you're one of them.
Right back at
Well, I think that's all the storytellers, at least those who've said that they would like to share anything. Make sure, Traphene, you read all the beautiful messages in the chat that some
I'm
have
reading
posted.
them, yes.
And if let me know, going once, going twice. Is there anybody else who wanted to share something?
I'll be waiting for you. We'll have a super duper time up there.
Janet, did you raise your hand?
Yeah, I can tell a brief memory. Let's see. Hang on, trying to manage spotlights too. I remember Traphene's hospitality when I was newer to the Dallas Storytelling Guild, and she had several parties in her backyard. There's several times she had a campfire and people gathered around in the dark and
yeah.
shared ghost stories and other stories. But, I remember Finley being, standing up there kind of whatever the abominable snowman or whatever monster he was portraying. And then I just remember your laughter and just like made it so wonderful to be there, and you so welcomed everyone. So I appreciate that.
I forgot we used to have fires out in our backyard, and we've got a pretty large backyard, but we used to have parties. And we don't do that anymore. No more fires in the yard. We've had lots of good times.
Toni, I had something I wanted to say. This is Jay.
Okay.
Traphene, I've been going to the TSA festival for a long time, almost since the beginning, I do believe. And I remember when it was in the tents, and I remember being invited into your green room. I didn't have a big part in the festival at all, except for attending. So I was very surprised at the lovely welcome that you all gave me as I walked by. But more recently, I was overjoyed when you emailed me that you would like to tell a story at the festival. And I was in a position to be able to have you tell. Now, I'm sorry that we weren't live, but that was the roll of the dice. And I was just happy to have you, and it made me get on my thinking cap and have some other tellers that have been around for a long time that have meant a lot to me as an attendee. So I thank you for contacting me and asking me to be a part of it. I enjoyed doing it and had a great time. So thank you so much for doing that.
I was at the first festival, and Finley asked, do you think that, and we all met afterwards, and he said, do you think that this is worth trying to do again? And Tom McDermott spoke up. I had never met him before, and he gave a real good reason to keep the thing going.
Good for Tom. Oh, yeah, it was. Thank you. And I just want you to know that I think today has been a wonderful idea and experience. And I'm hoping you feel the hugs that everybody are giving you with their words and with their thoughts and their prayers.
And I hope y'all feel my love, every one of you. Oh, Kathy up there shaking her head slowly, but yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. This is such a wonderful thing.
Traphene,
Uh-huh.
I just want to tell you too, this is Shane, that I'm pretty, in the terms of what we're talking about today, pretty new to storytelling. And but you were at some of the early Dallas storytelling meetings that I attended, and you were so kind and so supportive of what I was trying to do. And I feel like my midlife crisis. And I just appreciate you so much. And then you were just very open in sharing who you were. And we found out that y'all were both telephone company pioneers. And my mom was too. And so like, I felt that there was a connection there too. And it felt like home, because I had, when I was younger and my mom could rope me in, I was up at the telephone company pioneer stuff, volunteering and doing all that kind of thing too. And so I just did, I felt like I was at another part of family, and you were a big part of that with your kindness and your support. And I just wanted to tell you just how much you didn't just support the kids, you supported the older people too that came into storytelling. So I appreciate you so much.
Thank you. How can people access this after it's over? Anybody know?
Janet is recording it, and I guess she can be in touch with you about that.
Yes, I can send a link probably tonight or tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you so much, Janet, for arranging this, and all the tech people. And for those of you who shared memories and stories and just came to show your face. And thank you again, Traphene, for just being an inspiration to all of us and for all your love.
I love you all.
May I add one comment too? Hi, Traphene, it's Marian Fleshman. In all my years on the board, you were one of the most joyful and wonderful people that I looked so forward to seeing every year.
Oh, look at that. Thank you.
You're welcome. And it's wonderful to see you and to hear your voice.
Hi, Ms. Traphene.
Okay, go on.
Hi, Ms. Traphene. I'm Benita. I'm Karen Lee's mother. And I just wanted to speak as a parent of one of the youth storytellers. As parents, we're tired a lot. And we would show up at the meetings tired. But after the meeting, one day, Karen mentioned to me, she said, you know, Mom, we're tired when we come. But after being around Ms. Traphene, we're not tired anymore. So me, your spirit was just infectious, and it really touched our heart. And we are eternally grateful for you being a part of our life. And I truly appreciate you mentoring my child. Thank you so much for all you've done.
I just love both of you. I love all of my storytellers. Y'all have you've been real faithful. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. There's just no way I can thank you, really, how much I mean, how much I love this, and I love all of you. Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.
Safe travels.
Sue, what kind of flowers do you grow on your patio? You gave me a flower one time.
I don't think she's still here.
No,
Must be her plumerias.
I'm looking at all these names.
Donna
Mary,
says,
thank
who
Thank
Mary
you
is?
for the visit, Mary.
Be gone, yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Love all of you. Bye.
Bye.
We love you. Thank you, Toni and Janet.
Until we meet again.
Yeah.
Until we meet again. Until
God.
we meet again.
And let us know when you move and where you're gonna be, okay?
Well, when I go to heaven or when I go to the next place?
Your
I
your
think
next
I'm going
place.
to, I think I'm going to, I'm not sure we meet to that too. I think I'm going to Mansfield Nursing Home from here.
Okay, well, enjoy today with your grandchildren and your children and your great-grands.
My great-great-grand.
Oh,
My
great.
great-great-granddaughter learned to walk on this floor last night.
Wow.
And she walked all over everywhere.
Wow.
And I've got another one coming. And this is great, great. It is great.
Good job, Toni.
Thanks everyone for coming and for sharing. Okay,
Bye, guys.
take care.
God bless you and keep you.
Yes.
You all.
All of y'all.
Unless anyone else has a memory to share, we'll just end it here in about 30 seconds. If you want to catch the chat, you can save the chat over on the 3 dots in the chat area. And I'm trying to save it myself.
Yeah, you save it so maybe, do you know if you can have that?
Not saving. Well, it's not saving. So if somebody might want to save it back as a backup,
I've saved it.
Okay, wonderful. We may need that copy. Okay, I appreciate everyone. Thank you for coming.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. So long.
No.